All right, good morning, afternoon, or evening to you. Gonna show you some stuff in Illustrator here. Um, so this is just your open screen. I just did a new document, and I'm gonna change this to inches. And 8.5 by 11 is great. This is portrait orientation looks good, so I'll do create. Yeah, that's the previous one. You're gonna see. I'll show you what I did already, but I wanted to show you this step. So I have this sketch that I did. Actually, this is what it looks like. I had this sketch that I scanned, but you could also take a picture of it with your phone. And I want to pull it into my document here, and then use that as a guide. So I'm going to go File, and then Place. And then that pulls it up like this, and this is already surfed out to this location, and I want to do sketch for Olson's value map in place. And then it wants me to to stretch out a box here, and there it is. Great. And so then I can kind of just grab it and move it to where I want. Another thing I wanted to show you was the layers panel in Illustrator. So it's right here, and of course if you're not seeing it, you can always go to Window and then Layers. But this is a pretty handy thing. It works just the same as layers in Photoshop. Um, and since this sketch is on our layer right now, I actually don't need to do anything else with it. So I'm going to lock it down. There's a little square there you can click and get a little lock. And then I'm going to start making stuff, but I'm going to put that up on its own layer. And it's always a good idea to name these as you go. So I'm going to call this one sketch. And I think what I'm going to do is do some of these bigger shapes first on this layer too. So maybe I'll call this big shapes. Something like that. Okay, and then you can see that I'm selected on this big shapes layer and it's turned on. And of course these little eyeballs can turn things on or off. Um, and that's good. Okay, and that bottom layer, sketch layer is locked, so I'm not gonna accidentally select it when I'm doing other stuff. All right, and so I'm gonna start making one of my first shapes here, and I'm gonna use the curvature tool. And I'm gonna really briefly look down here at the fill and stroke area. So as it's set up right now, it's gonna make a black shape, and it's going to have no stroke. This X through it is the no stroke. So, and you can change this out. So you'll see that when you have stroke, it'll pop up to the top, or if you click on fill, that'll pop up at the top. So let's see. I think this will actually work. Fill black, but actually let's choose something else. I'm going to choose gray. Okay, so that'll just do some gray shapes for me. Now, zooming and moving is the same as you're used to in Photoshop. I like the Alt and the rollerball the best. Um, and curvature tool is really easy and it's nice. So you just start clicking. Oh, I have this crazy point off already here. So let's go Control Z, back a few. Okay, now let's try again. Let's try again. Nope, still have that other point here. Let's see. Maybe I can find that guy. How did I do that? Let's see. There we go. Okay, so I'll do this experiments shape here. And so basically, you're just going to start off by clicking points on the shape that you're after, and you're going to see it's going to make curves for you. And in general, you want as few points as you can get away with, but still get the shape that you're after. And when you get back around to the beginning, you can just click on that first point, or you can hit enter, and that will come back around. Okay, now let's see. Somehow that got to be black, so let's make that gray again. And since fill is still up on the top, I can just come up here and hit gray. And that's cool. Another thing I wanted to show you was making things transparent. So I have my properties panel open, and right here is opacity. So if I wanted to have that be somewhat see-through, I could do that kind of thing. In fact, I might want to do that right now just so that I can see those words in there. Okay, so that gives you the idea of one shape. Here, let me do one more big shape down here. I'll do this parenting one here. And so here I'm being a little more bold, kind of clicking with a little more space in between each of these. And I just kind of click that first shape together, but I want to show you how a little bit more about kind of adjusting these. One thing I really like about the curvature tool is that you can just grab one of these and just pull it around a little bit. So if we wanted a little different shape here, you do that. And you can also add another shape just by clicking on the path somewhere. And you could even start to make it dynamic. All right, that's already gray. Maybe I pull the opacity of that guy down some too. Okay, so there I've got a couple things going. Now I want to show you, I want to do some of these words here. So one thing I already talked about was the working with text along a path. And so this is actually pretty straight, but I'm gonna make a little path that'll make this a little more interesting. So I'm gonna just come up here, and actually what I want to do is flip these. So I now have a gray stroke, but no fill. And then I'm just gonna come up here and just go click, 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 say like that. Maybe we'll do a little weird thing like that. Okay. And sometimes you get this thing hanging on the end. You can always go to the black arrow there, and that will take that off. And then go into the text tool here and type on a path. And where you make that first click is going to be where your type will start. You'll also notice that a little purple word that says path will come up when it's on top of the path. And so you'll want to see that. Click. Okay. And it's going to put some lorem ipsum in there for you, but don't worry. You can go in and go experiments. And it looks like I had some extra stuff there. There we go. And then you'll probably want to choose a font. And I recommend choosing just going with one font for the whole thing. Maybe different sizes, but the same font. So I really like this Vista Sans font, so I'm gonna go for that. So there's experiments, and I might need that a little bit bigger. So while it's still selected, maybe I bump that up a bit like that. And then let's see. I also wanted to show you how this white arrow can be used with this text on a path. So the white arrow, you can control where this thing starts or ends on the path. And so right now I'm controlling the start point, but if you find over here, you can also control the end point. And then you'll see one more bar in the middle. And with this, you can either control where the center, if you want to just move it by its center, or you can pull it to the other side of the bar, and then you'll get your text curving on the other side of the curve. So so use that white arrow to pick the most optimal spot on the curve for it. And then you'll notice that the stroke itself disappears when you do that. And so I'll go in and put that there, maybe experiments. Let's see how I'm doing here. Let's see, we pulled in a sketch. We talked about curvature to make some shapes. We looked at our swatch panel and used that to change the color of our fill or stroke. We looked at our layers panel and we locked layers. So what I might do is I could even put, if maybe I'll put my text on its own layer. So I could select this text and go Control X to cut it. And then I could pop open a new layer. Maybe I call this text. And you can go Control V will paste it. Not quite in the right spot. If you want to get it exactly in the same spot, you can go I think it's Control Shift Alt V. But either way. And then you can adjust where that rides. One thing you might want to do periodically is turn off your sketch so you can kind of see where you're at so far. Um, and let's see, yeah, we also looked at our properties bar. Having that open is really handy because that just adjusts and changes for each new thing that you're doing. And then finally, some saving and exporting this. Let me just flip over to this one though, because this one I did a little more work on. Let's see. So I'm going to turn off my sketch and turn on these two gray shapes and some of these black shapes. So you see, I did a little bit more. I played around. I pulled some of these fonts up a little bit. I played around with the size of some of these. I played around with transparency a little bit so that some of these are coming together, and I think I have some more tweaking to do probably. But I'm happy with where it's coming along. So when you get even partly done, you'll want to do some saving, and so just saving into Illustrator is just as easy as going save. This already has a name and it's already been saved in a place. So if you haven't done that, you maybe want to do save as, and then that gives you a chance to name that. Like maybe I call this version 3, say, because I've done a little bit more work on it. So I'll go save. And it's always good to save the native file. So if you're working in Photoshop, save the Photoshop file. If you're working in Illustrator, save the Illustrator file. But we rarely will share those with our clients. We usually will send them something easier to move around on the web. So we'll have a spelling error and some stuff in there, but that's okay. So I'll go File, and this. So to make a JPEG in Illustrator, this is how I usually do it. Is I go, instead of save or save as, I go export as, and then down here I choose JPEG, and yeah, and so that it gives you a chance to rename that one, finalized or something if you want, or you could even better would be your last name, your first name, value map or something like that. That'd be even better, so I don't get anything confused. And then you can go export. All right, so hopefully that gives you some ideas. Thanks for watching.